Alright, so we are here once again to talk about our Lord and Savior, the Sonic the Hedgehog, our favorite movie franchise of all time. And apparently they make games. Do you know that, right? Like, they got games apparently. I swear, like, I just found out. It's crazy. But I figured maybe we should talk about these games since, you know, it's always good to talk about the obscure things. But today we got some very interesting information. And it's regarding, of course, Sonic Frontiers and the whole debate on them using the Forces model and whether it's a placeholder. And there's a lot more information that goes along with that we need to talk about. And I also need to address some things regarding Frontiers because, as usual, people are mad at me for the last video that I made because I criticized Sega. People are coming up with all sorts of excuses to try and defend them, as usual, and I've got some rebuttals for that. So we're gonna get to all of this. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure to subscribe. We are trying to hit 100,000 subscribers and hopefully 70,000 subscribers before Sonic Frontiers comes out. So today we're getting this information from two sources, or technically a source within a source. Basically, a Sonic tuber named Unleashed made a video, and by the way, you should subscribe to him. Great guy, really. But he made a video called Sonic Frontiers model is confirmed to be a placeholder and footage and trailer is early. I mean, we knew the footage and trailer was early. There was no gameplay. But he's been talking to or messaging someone by the name of Socky, who apparently gave insider information on Blind Squirrel's development of Sonic Colors Ultimate. So basically, they've got some insider information. I personally cannot verify everything because, you know, I'm not on Twitter like that to be like following what's going on. But it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility what they're saying. So again, you can take it with a grain of salt. I'm not going to say it's 100% confirmed, but what is being said here needs to be discussed, okay? So this person was messaging the Sonic tuber Unleash, and these screenshots are coming from those messages taken straight from his video. So again, you can watch his video for the original discussion, but I want to give my own take on these messages. So I'm going to read through them and then we're going to discuss, okay? So the first message says, okay, so the screenshots with the Forces model, yeah, it turns out those screenshots and all of the footage is actually very early footage, made to show mainly as a tech demo showcase, to the point where the footage is even named tech.mp4, this footage specifically. And it's like, I mean, we knew it was a tech demo, right? People trying to pass it off as like, this is proper gameplay. It's like, no, this is a tech demo. Like, we saw the 2-minute one where they just show the environments. We saw the one with Sonic standing in the environment that had no Sonic elements in it, which we're going to talk about later. It was not gameplay, it was a tech demo. And then this person goes into the reason why they used the Forces model as a placeholder. And they say that the Forces model is the only Sonic model that's not the Frontiers model that has PBR, or physical based rendering. For short, basically it renders out the textures to give them more depth and not make them flat, like the classic Sonic levels in Forces. That's also why the Forces model has some really detailed and well-made gloves. It's thanks to this. However, since by that footage, the Frontiers model isn't done yet, they were using the Forces model as a placeholder since it's the only Sonic model that has PBR, so it gives them a good idea for now on how Sonic will react to the environment. Now, I mean, this makes some legitimate sense, of course, because, you know, Forces was the first Sonic game to use the Hedgehog engine too, because, I mean, 4 years after Lost World, they didn't have that shit in 2013, right? They were still on Hedgehog engine 1. So there is a legitimate reason for them to use a placeholder, right? Now, I know what you're thinking, Prem, you sound pretty positive right now. You seem to be defending Sega. What I've done yet, the video's not over. Relax. Fun fact, this isn't the first time they've done this method. They've done this with Unleashed, so much so that the reveal footage and screenshots were very early builds with a placeholder Sonic model. But you see, there's a difference here. Unleashed only came out 2 years after the previous Sonic game, which was 06, right? Forces had 4 years, and Frontiers has had 5, even though they haven't used all 5, which I'll talk about again later. So them showing a placeholder in their trailer is like, okay, we've actually had less time to work on this, versus Frontiers, which we waited 4 years since Forces to get that second Frontiers trailer that showed the tech demo, and they still haven't even done the model yet. And that in and of itself is concerning. And again, with the Unleashed comparison, right? They actually showed gameplay, right? They gave you an idea what the game was, right? If they showed a placeholder model for the Frontiers trailer, but the gameplay was there, it wasn't just him standing in an empty world, then we could at least be like able to judge the game itself. And if the gameplay looks fire, we could be like, this gameplay looks fire, the model still looks trash, it's the Forces one, but maybe they'll fix that, but the gameplay looks fire, like the foundation is solid, right? This is model and empty world. And even still, the Unleashed placeholder was a brand new model. Now, fair point, Hedgehog Engine system was brand new, so it makes sense that they'll make a brand new model even for the placeholder, whereas Frontiers could just rely on Forces one because it's the same engine. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let me finish going through these messages before I go full ham, okay? Yep, it's basically history repeating itself, where the game reveal footage is very early footage with a Sonic model that won't be in the final build because its reveal footage is mainly focused on the graphics and environments. That's also why I don't see any rings or enemies or anything. And also it makes sense since the Daki leaks mentioned that the model looked like the CGI model, longer quills and all. If you don't know what the Daki leaks are, I covered them in a previous video. You should check that video out for the full context, but it's some of the most credible leaks we've gotten regarding Frontiers, so I think it's worth watching that video. Not to mention in terms of art design and other aspects, the leak was dead on right the entire time. So this guy is basically, or person is basically co-signing the Daki leaks here. And given how the footage we got is early, it seems like the leaker Daki got, they were playing a later build. Just like Unleashed, and how the reveal footage was much more rough and different and earlier than the actual build that's current during that time. Which makes a lot of sense because we already know from previous Frontiers leaks that they've been playing this game. They've got a later version of the game that has elements like gameplay, like rings, all the things you would expect to see in an actual finished Sonic game. They were talking about bosses they played turning into Super Sonic in all these leaks, but then what we actually saw in the trailer was an empty world of the placeholder model. But before I get ahead of myself again, let me just finish reading this. And fun fact, Sega's not the only company that does this. Nintendo is also another big example for this method, especially with their big IP games like Mario Odyssey, 3D World, Breath of the Wild, etc., where their reveal trailers look similar yet very different at the same time with all little details and such. A lot of the time it's because they don't have enough footage of the later build to be ready and shown to the public yet, only earlier builds. So you might be seeing all those buzzwords like, well, Nintendo does it too, big masterpiece games coming out, well, not 3D World, I wouldn't say that's a masterpiece, but it's a good game, but big games coming out that did it, so therefore Sonic's in the clear, right? And it's like, no, let's relax, okay? Those games showed gameplay, okay? Just like Unleashed did when it had a placeholder model, it showed gameplay. Odyssey showed gameplay as early as 2016. If you remember the Nintendo Switch reveal trailer, they showed Sand Kingdom in that trailer before we even knew what Odyssey was. They showed Breath of the Wild trailers in 2014. 2014, the game came out 2017. The delayed game was eventually good, or you know, the Miyamoto shit. And then in January 2017, we got the Big Boy Odyssey trailer, which was damn near 3 minutes. At least 2.5 was like actual gameplay 9 months before the game came out. So again, this comparison of Nintendo does it too, it's not even fair, okay? Unleashed was made in 2 years. Forces had 4, and Frontiers has 5. I don't even want to say it has 5, because again, the games are not the priority anymore. I know people got mad when I said that, but it's so prominent here. Like, I have to keep stressing this because people don't understand, like, oh, the reason why Forces was bad is because they didn't really use all the 4 years. It was spent on the engine, and then they only spent 1 year on the actual game, which, whose fault is that, okay? They were working on the Unleashed Hedgehog engine when they were developing 06, which that in and of itself is a problem for 06, but in the terms of Unleashed, if you have the manpower, you can do things like that, right? There shouldn't be a reason why Forces should be made in a year if they know they need more than a year. Allocating resources is an important skill for making a good game, right? If they needed more manpower to make the engine so they could get it out quicker so they could make Forces and have more time to do it before 2017, then that's up to them, right? If they needed to delay it to 2018, that's also up to them, right? People will be mad. I might have even been upset if they delayed it to 2018, but if the game turned out better because of it, I would forgive them in the end because they were right to do it. But with the case of Frontiers, Sonic Team was working on Sakura Wars, and that game came out in 2019. I have to keep stressing this. So it wasn't even like Forces came out and it's like, okay, time to get to work on Frontiers. No. Izuka only announced in March of 2019 that they had started development on the next Sonic game. That was their big South by Southwest 2019 announcement, that we started development of the next Sonic game, which realistically means at the earliest they probably started working on it late 2018, at least a year after Forces came out, because they were helping out with Sakura Wars. They didn't do the whole thing. It's a weird mishmash of employees going on under Sega CS2 or whatever, but we're not getting a full 5-year game, which means if they started in 2019, they were doing all these focus tests and we started getting leaks in 2020, we got some in 2021. We know there's a game there. We know there's later builds there. They say it's not as stable, which is why they're showing us this earlier build. But even if you were showing an earlier build for a trailer, the fact that you don't have an earlier build that involves actual gameplay shows that you are not really where you need to be, right? They said in that press document that I covered a while back that they had to delay Frontiers by a year to brush up on quality. And it's like, that's fucking hilarious, right? Because in December of 2021, assuming they didn't delay, it would have come out, what, November 2021? They didn't even show us gameplay in December. So you're talking about brushing up quality, how much have you actually got right now? Like, do they themselves know the game is mid and they're like, we need a year to fix this, that's why we're not showing you anything? Maybe that means the game will actually end up being good because they fix it without showing us the mid gameplay? Is that why they were moving all the screenshots? Or was the game just in a completely non-releasable state in November 2021 and they actually just had to finish it to the base level, right? These are the questions we have to be asking. And for me, I think it's the latter, because we got a pinned comment by this same leaker on the Unleashed video, and it says here, one little side note, don't expect any big news of Frontiers for a bit, since for now the big focus is the movie sequel since it's right around the corner, and would help Sonic Team have more time to get footage of the later builds since they're more stable and refined by now. And given that Sonic's not going to be at South by Southwest, it's pretty much looking like we're not getting anything until like E3 period. It looks like it. Maybe we'll get a late May Sonic Central like on the fly like we got last year, but it's going to be around that June, late May period clearly, because if they want to not step on the toes of the movie, which is coming out early April, late March, then they're going to let that movie run for several weeks before they go, okay, here's Frontiers, which some people have said that makes no sense, right? The movie should promote the game. The movie is the main focus, right? And they don't want some mid reveal of gameplay for Sonic Frontiers to step on the toes of the movie's great public reception right now. It makes sense. Why would they show Frontiers for us to be like, Frontiers looks mid while we're trying to get hyped for the movie and book our tickets? Let us buy the movie ticket, sit in those seats for like 4 to 6 weeks, and then after they've made their hundreds of millions of dollars off the movie, okay, now you can show them that gameplay and ruin Sonic's reputation for a few months until Prime comes back and saves it, hopefully. Either way, man, the Forces model being a placeholder is a lose-lose situation. I mean, I don't want it to be the Forces model. I want a brand new model that looks cool. Apparently, it's going to be longer calls if we are to believe the Daki leaks. But I think Twip said it best. I was talking to him about this on Discord, and he said, let's face it, whatever way you look at it, it sucks. If it's a placeholder, then it's a sign that the game is nowhere near finished. If it's not, then it means they've been reusing assets for this game, which means they've been compromising, which they said they weren't doing, so it's a lose-lose scenario. All I take away from this is that they had a later build with actual gameplay in it, and they chose not to show it. They can claim instability, but at the end of the day, it's a trailer, right? It's not gonna bug out in a trailer when you can perfectly curate non-glitchy moments to show in the trailer. 06 had trailers that didn't show glitches. You have no excuse. Only reason you wouldn't show it is because you didn't believe that was gonna wow people. And just showing them the environment and being like, wow, Sonic's in this beautiful world was clearly picked because it was gonna wow people more than actually showing them mid gameplay and them going, okay, it's an open world, but it looks like trash. I just feel like after 4 years since Forces, we should have seen a brand new model. And if that model wasn't ready, then they could have compensated for that, like what Nintendo does, by actually showing a solid game, so we are to believe that the model will be fixed later on, but the gameplay foundation is there. But they gave us none of that. It was old model, no actual legitimate gameplay to actually satiate us and reassure us that they know what they're doing, right on the cuff of Sonic Colors Ultimate, which isn't Sonic Team, but it's still Sega's reputation when it comes to Sonic. No real great side content to keep us going, because like after Colors Ultimate, for like what have we been getting, like realistically? I saw some people trying to go at me on Twitter like, oh, Prem is being too hard on Sega, like they're taking 5 years for Frontiers and Mario hasn't had a game since Odyssey, right? It's 5 years as well, why isn't he going at them? Okay, sit down. Let's take a look at the Sonic games that have come out since Forces. We got a re-release of a game that came out right before Forces. We got Mario Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. We got Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 for the phone. We got Team Offline Racing. We got Sonic Seizures Ultimate. And that is it. So since Super Mario Odyssey, what games has Mario gotten? I don't want to strain my throat reading all of that, but you can see it's a fucking lot, right? Now, obviously, not all of it is great, right? Like, not all the side content in the 2000s Sonic was great, but there was enough gems in there to keep a fan satiated, you know what I mean, okay? And they're still getting a movie! They're still getting a movie as well, so what's your point? What is your point? What is the excuse? I'm not saying they have to be on par with Nintendo with their output of releases, but they're not even half of this par, okay? They're not even a third of this par. They're not even a quarter of this par, okay? Don't even put them in the same category. Anyway, man, the takeaway from this is Forces model is likely a placeholder. There'll probably be a new, better model. That doesn't say shit about the game actually being quality. We still have to wait for gameplay. No gameplay, no hype. Much link in the description. And expect to wait until that E3 period for news. I think I've made my point. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about this situation. It's looking like the Forces model is going to be a placeholder, and news is going to come whenever they finish making their $500 million from the Sonic movie sequel. So expect to wait a while for any gameplay. Obviously, Azuka might throw us a few breadcrumb interviews, but like significant news, be prepared to wait. But yeah, man, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link will be in the description. But that's all I have to say right now. So, Remy out.